All right, everyone, thank you all for joining me today on this special video. I am truly excited to bring you this video today because this is a part 2 of a previously released video that I did around the origin of Afrobeats from a legendary guitarist known as Ebo Taylor. Ebo Taylor is an 86-year-old man and also was a friend of Fela and the founder of Afrobeat. Now, the video I did previously was his version and his interview that he did talking about Afrobeat and the origin of Afrobeat. I want you to take a look at a clip from the video I put together around this not too long ago.
I knew Fela very well because he was my friend. We were always discussing. He would say, "Taylor, why don't you, play our own thing? We're always playing jazz. Jazz is for the American." And so we all started looking, on our own table, So he started the Afrobeat in Nigeria, and he was very successful.
So Ebo Taylor, in that interview that you just saw, really confirmed what many of us know in terms of the origin of Afrobeat. Now, ever since I put that video out, I've received a lot of emails, mostly from Ghanaians, who kind of accused me of distorting the truth, even though you heard it clearly from him. That Ebo Taylor didn't really say that, even though you heard it clearly from him, from that interview, all of that. Now, what's interesting now is there's another interview that has just recently dropped because of course, Ghanaians who are ill intent and are looking to distort history by inserting themselves in the history of Afrobeat, are trying to get Ebo Taylor to change his statement. Okay, so I want to play a recent interview that just occurred about a week ago, where it happened at a radio station in Ghana, and I want you to listen to Mr. Taylor's interview, and I want you to listen to his answers and his take on the history of Afrobeat. And then I want you to pay attention to the interviewer's questions. I want you to pay attention to his tone. I want you to pay attention to his leading questions, because you would find in this interview that there were a few times that he tried to lead Mr. Taylor into answering a question a particular way. There were times that he also tried to provide a certain narrative to Mr. Taylor. And Mr. Taylor, being very sharp and being very smart, even at 86 years old, really was able to see along the lines of what he was trying to do and answered the questions truthfully and answered the origin of Afrobeat truthfully. I want you guys to pay attention at these two things because it'll give you an insight to what we're dealing with and what we're seeing with the behavior from certain individuals from Ghana who are trying to distort history, steal Nigeria's legacy, change the narrative in terms of the origin of Afrobeat and Fela's involvement and what Highlife, and overplay Highlife's role in all of this. So take a look at this interview, and I want you guys, and I'm going to go through and review this clip by clip for you all to see, but I'm going to play it so you hear it again from the mouth of Ebo Taylor on this. So I'm going to go to my computer right now, and let's go ahead and begin this interview and review it.
Yes, we're excited that you came here for this interview.
All right.
People much younger than you are calling us to come to their homes.
Huh?
We're excited about that. So this is the thing. For those of you watching us on social media right now, we've got Uncle Ebo Taylor joining us here on the 3FM Drive. Got questions? Let us ask this great legend. And we also have this conversation around you and Fela.
Fela, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was the relationship like? A lot of people think you started Afrobeats.
No. He started Afrobeat, and I got a glimpse of it. He told me about it. The Highlife is getting too old.
So I want you guys I want you to pause right there, and I want you guys to really kind of pay attention to what just happened. The question was asked, and that was what you call a leading question. Where the interviewer asked him. A lot of people have said that you started Afrobeat. That's what you call a leading question. It's a deceptive way of trying to get someone or providing someone the answer to a question asked, right? But you saw Mr. Taylor really kind of correct that and said, no, he started Afrobeat. You get that, right? I want to play that again so you hear it once more.
Okay. And we also have this conversation around you and Fela.
Fela, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was the relationship like? A lot of people think you started Afrobeats.
No. He started Afrobeat, and I got a glimpse of it. He told me about it. The Highlife is getting too old.
So you see that, right? And I really wish you can see the disappointment in the face of the interviewer, right? I mean, the video is on YouTube for you guys to go take a look at it. But that is one of those things that we've come to know in terms of this narrative that is pushed by Ghanaians regarding the origin of Afrobeat. This notion that somehow Fela went to Ghana and learned Afrobeat in Ghana, and there hasn't been any facts to back that claim. And now we're hearing from even someone that was there with him, someone that was right there at the beginning of it all. So it's one thing to have pundits and people who weren't there write stories and insert their own opinion in it, right? It's another thing to have an actual legend, an actual individual who is alive with us today, who was right there at the beginning of it all, tell you the origin of Afrobeat. Now, who are you going to believe? Who do you think is more credible, right? Mr. Taylor or some individuals who were not there, who have no idea of history, trying to distort history. And so, once again, Mr. Taylor reaffirms the origin of Afrobeat. Now, I want you to keep listening to this because it doesn't end there, right? Because it doesn't end there with this interviewer trying to mislead or trying to lead Mr. Taylor in answering the questions the way he would want. He wanted a certain answer and he didn't get it. So that's interesting. But keep listening to this because I want you to see what we are talking about when we talk about many people from Ghana who are not happy at the success Nigerians are having with Afrobeat and are trying to align themselves. They are trying to insert themselves into history, right? By coming up with a false narrative about Afrobeat's foundation, okay? And which isn't the case. So to many of you that are wondering where Afrobeat or are stumbling on this video for the first time, see, the facts are Afrobeat was founded in Nigeria by Fela Kuti. There were a lot of music genres that influenced Fela when he was growing up. A few of those were, the Yoruba music. Fela was a Yoruba man, so he grew up listening to his type of music, Yoruba music, Juju music, Fuji. In addition to jazz, because he traveled all over the world. He traveled to the United States, studied in London. In addition to also Highlife. Highlife played a role as like many other music genre played a role. Now, what's going on now is that you're finding Ghanaians who are trying to take most of the credit of their influence with Afrobeat and denying the role that all this other music genre played. It's a distortion of history. Okay, it's a way of it's an attempt of these individuals to try to make the claim that they began Afrobeat, which is not true and has never been the case. Okay, so now we're hearing from a legend. We're hearing from someone that was there, that walked with him, that knew Fela when he started this whole thing. So I'm going to take you back to the interview so you can hear the rest of the interview, but I wanted to point out that important part of the interview, which you're going to get to hear more of that type of leading question by this interview towards Mr. Taylor. Now keep listening.
He started Afrobeat, and I got a glimpse of it. He told me about it.
Mm-hmm.
The Highlife is getting too old, and we need to get something else in its place. Well, it's true. The Highlife wasn't too late for people. People usually dance to 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they get fed up with it.
Okay, so I wanted to stop right there and also kind of point your attention to something that he said that I thought was very, very important to kind of point out. He said that Fela, during the time of Highlife and while he was putting together and creating his music Afrobeat, came to him and said, listen, I have an idea and of a new type of music genre, of a new set of music, because Highlife is getting too old. We need to do something new. We need to do something different. And Fela now, based on his interest in a new set of music, based on his interest in wanting to start something different from Highlife, created what we now know today as Afrobeat. Now, the reason why I wanted to point your attention to that was because when you hear a lot of Ghanaians talk, there's this notion that Afrobeat started in Ghana, Afrobeat evolved from Highlife, Afrobeat somehow, Highlife was the bedrock of Afrobeat, and that is simply not the case. Fela, according to Mr. Taylor, said that Highlife is too old. It's because again, Highlife started back in the 20s and the 30s, so it had its moment. And so Fela grew up listening to a lot of music, right? A lot of these sounds were being played around, and Highlife being one of them, as well as the other music genres that were played all over the world, in Nigeria, all over. And so Fela came to him as a friend of his, and he was sharing his ideas with him. He said, "Hey, I'm going to start something new, and I want to start this different type of flow and flavor of music." And it's important for you to understand and understand that interaction that Fela had with his friend. And I wanted to just point that out. But let's keep listening, because that's a very, very important aspect of it, because it really shuts down that whole negative narrative that Fela somehow came to Ghana, which there's no evidence of that, and learned this, right? And the Ghanaians gave him this, which is not true. And Mr. Taylor has just affirmed that, right? And so that's a part I wanted you guys to pay attention, but just keep listening to this.
He liked it. Well, I didn't know, but he's a person who will take you by surprise.
That's Fela.
Yeah.
He is the kind that is not predictable.
Yeah.
You'll be there and then he throws in something new.
Yeah, and then all of it is sudden. You get surprised. And you appreciate it all the same. Well, he surprises everybody. He surprises you. He will say something that is true, but it's not very common with the people. And I wouldn't like to say that in public,
Okay.
Yeah.
But I get the notion that you two were very close.
Yeah.
Very close.
Well, very close.
So that when he was about starting this whole Afrobeat thing, at least you were in the know.
Okay. So here's the part that I also want you guys to pay attention. Now he's about to ask another leading question, right? He's about to ask another leading question. And I want you to pay attention to the way he phrases the question, because it's an attempt to try to deceive Mr. Taylor by providing the answer or by putting the words in his mouth. So I want you to pay attention to the next question he's about to ask in terms of when Fela started this whole thing, right? And wanted to involve Mr. Taylor in the initial stages of Afrobeat's creation. So listen to the way he's asking this next question that he's about to ask.
So that when he was about starting this whole Afrobeat thing, at least you were in the know. He told you about it.
Yeah.
But he started it, but you were part of the other people around him who commercialized it. Made it popular.
Yeah.
Okay.
We made it. We didn't make it popular. He made it popular.
He made it popular.
Okay. by popularizing the beat and the songs, the Afro songs.
Okay.
But you really feel that it's Afro thing that he's doing. You know, and you get surprised, and when he takes off, you really feel that he's getting some new. Yeah.
There's always something new about his style and his vibe. Okay.
So you just heard what happened. Now he just asked him, you were part of the people and the team that made it popular, that commercialized it. And Mr. Ebo Taylor said, no, Fela made it popular. Now the reason why that is important is because it is exactly the type of thing that you've often heard with Ghanaians, that Fela wasn't the only one that was playing Afrobeat, that Ghanaians were playing Afrobeat. Fela just somehow took it and ran with it, right? But Mr. Taylor just confirmed that not only did Fela start Afrobeat, he was also the one that made it popular. Okay, so it's very important for you to understand this, because it goes towards the false narrative that we're hearing from a lot of Ghanaians who sadly at this point are just being crybabies when it comes to this, and they are trying to insert themselves into these successful music genre, right? And we have never denied, Nigerians have never denied the influence that Highlife had with Afrobeat. Nigerians have never denied that. But what we're seeing with Ghanaians is they're not trying to just, it's not okay for them to have an influence on Afrobeat. They are claiming that they started it. They are claiming that this was a foundation in Ghana and Fela came and took it from them. And that is a distortion, and that is not simply true, right? And so that's what we're seeing. And that's why we are in this conversation that we're having. And I'm so glad to have Mr. Ebo Taylor really set the record straight. But I want you to keep listening to this, because this interviewer asked another leading question. And I have to tell you that my assessment of this interviewer is, I'll give him an F, because he was obvious to me what he was trying to do. It was obvious to me that he was obviously very biased and was trying to get his listeners, who are mostly Ghanaians because he's located in Ghana, it was trying to satisfy his listeners. And he did a very poor job with this interview. And if you watch the interview, the actual interview, you can tell that Mr. Taylor was starting to get really frustrated and really annoyed at the level of question that was coming, because he can see it. You can tell that this is what they were trying to do. And the interviewer did not get what he wanted because he was trying to distort history. See, one thing about the truth is truth will always be constant. No matter what you do, you can never change the truth. You can never change it. You can try, but you're not going to ever be able to change the truth. Because when Fela started this, I don't think Fela had any inclination that someone in a country will try to steal his legendary and his legacy from his own country. I don't think Fela had any inclination that we were going to be in this situation that we're in right now. He never. He just wanted to play music. He wanted to create something great for the world. He wanted to give the world a gift. But I don't think, if you ask me, that Fela ever would have thought that we would be in this situation where someone was trying to claim his legacy from his own country and from him. But nonetheless, here we are. But the truth of the matter is what is surfacing right now, that we're having someone like Mr. Ebo Taylor, a Ghanaian, right, really set the record straight on his interaction with Fela. He was there from the beginning, telling us that now that Fela started this whole thing, he created this whole thing, he popularized this whole thing, he made it famous, all of that. Now, this next part of the interview that I want you to hear is I want you to hear where Mr. Ebo Taylor talks about how they had nothing to do with Afrobeat. He was not involved in it. He and Fela didn't really, they were not tag team in the creation of Afrobeat. He was not, it was all Fela. And that is very important for you to hear this, because it also shuts down that whole negative narrative that we've been hearing, that, Ghanaians were playing it. Mr. Ebo Taylor was playing Afrobeat, which is what you've heard from a lot of Ghanaians. Mr. Ebo Taylor was playing Afrobeat when Fela came into the mix, and he taught Fela how to do this. Now you're about to find out that was not the case. But let's keep listening.
Did you guys ever have a song together? Did you ever have a project together, like a song together, you and Fela, during his days?
No.
You never get to work together?
He would rather bring a song, and I will appreciate it.
Oh, okay. But both of you on the same project? No.
No.
All right. We also have some songs that...
Okay, so I wanted to pause right there. So you heard him, again, reaffirm that he and Fela never did anything Afrobeat together. That Fela brought to him his song, and he looked at it and he said, this is cool. It's equivalent to like two friends really kind of sharing and talking about their love for music. But he was never involved with the creation of Afrobeat. He and Fela never did a project together. You heard him say that no. Again, another leading question from this interviewer to try to distort history, to try to paint the narrative, to try to get the type of answer he was looking for, which is he was hoping Mr. Taylor was going to say, yes, we did a song together, which would then play into their narrative that, yes, you see, Mr. Taylor said they did the song together. Mr. Taylor was playing Afrobeat. That's how I felt I got Afrobeat. And that was not the case. Okay? That was not the case. So I want you also to hear this last part, because this interviewer was obviously not prepared. And everything he brought up were not accurate. Most of the questions he asked Mr. Taylor were not accurate. He's also now about to talk about a song that Mr. Taylor supposedly did, which Mr. Taylor corrected him and said, no, I was not the one that did that song. Now, I want you to pay attention to that, because that goes to the preparedness and goes to the agenda of this interviewer. Take a listen.
But both of you on the same project? No.
No.
All right. We also have some songs that you have influenced, and I'm talking about in today's Ghana. Giovanni, Fela was one of the folks who played on Ohima Mercy. I hear you arranged Ohima Mercy Subekese.
What?
Ohima Mercy. She's a gospel musician.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. No.
Okay. So let me maybe I should play the song for you to hear.
Yeah.
Maybe that would help.
Yeah.
Yes, guys, we are having our conversation with 86 years old Uncle Ebo Taylor. He's complaining that he's got some health challenges, but he's still looking very, very healthy before us. He's still a very strong man. They held him into the studio here with one hand. So that means he did most of the walking himself. That's right. So let me see if I can get that song for you. Yes, this particular one. Uncle, let's go with this one. Sorry, just a minute. Okay. And your arrangement, Paris, there is one that we should be studying in books. This one. You've never heard the song before. Oh, okay, right. Yeah. So that's a message from an instrumentalist. So I had to quickly clarify that. All right. But are there songs you've helped arranged or worked on in recent times?
So you heard that. Now I didn't want to play the entire music for copyright purposes, but I wanted you to at least hear his response in terms of what he said, that he was not involved in that music. You see, what the interviewer was trying to do was play a particular type of song that he thought Mr. Ebo Taylor was part of. And the reason why he was trying to do this, in my opinion, was to really kind of reaffirm his narrative that Mr. Taylor was part of the Afrobeat thing. He was playing Afrobeat. And so Fela obviously got Afrobeat from Mr. Taylor. So by playing that particular piece of song, was going towards what he was trying to, his own narrative. And Mr. Taylor refuted that and said, no, I wasn't part of that, which is a shame to this interviewer, because you should do your homework. You should do your homework in knowing exactly everything about the person you're interviewing, and not try to lead him into a particular position, which is very frustrating. It was frustrating for me watching that. And I can only imagine for Mr. Taylor, if you watch the interview, you can kind of see his frustration at this whole interview process. I can only imagine how frustrated he was to sit here and hear someone who should be aware and very vast with what he has done, especially bringing him to the studio, now watching him really stumble all over himself. And not get any of the facts right. And that was very telling. Again, Mr. Taylor really reaffirming that Afrobeat was Fela's thing. He was not part of that. That was Fela's music. He was not part of any project Fela was doing. Fela would often share things with him in terms of what his ideas. But nonetheless, he was not part of the whole Afrobeat thing. That was Fela's thing. He was a Highlife. He enjoyed doing a Highlife. And that was the end of the matter. So that was very telling during this whole interview process.
All right, so this will be my very final question to you. You're clearly strong, even though you're 86 years. So I'm asking for my younger listeners or anyone who just appreciates life and living long. What would you say is your secret to good health and long life? What is your secret to that?
Well, pursue what do you want to, what do you want people to listen to? Just pursue what you want people to listen to, not what you want to listen to. Yeah, what people would like to listen to, not what you would like to listen to.
That is an amazing advice. Pursue what people would like to listen to, and not what you would like to listen to. And I think that is a wise and that statement has a lot of wisdom to it. And that statement to me was very touching, because it's something that we all should be reminded of, and we all should really kind of pay attention. Is give the world what the world will like to have, and not what you think the world would like to have. And that to me was a very touching moment, and I was very, very glad to have listened to Mr. Ebo Taylor's interview, and also very, very privileged to have heard him really say that and also touch the world as he has done. This is a very fascinating moment in our time that we are in. That we're witnessing the rise of a beautiful music genre coming out from Nigeria, coming out from Africa. It's a beautiful moment. And we should be spending our time enjoying that. We should be spending our time really embracing what Africa and Nigerians have created. Not spending our time debating and try to steal some other person's legacy, because I think that is an insult to a people, the people of Nigeria and Nigerians, to have a country like Ghana and people in there wanting to steal their legacy by trying to claim and assert themselves into something that they had nothing to do with. They had nothing to do with in terms of the creation, in terms of the popularity, nothing whatsoever. And I think that's a very sad thing. But I'm very glad to have Mr. Ebo Taylor really set the record straight. But thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please leave me a like this video, share the content, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all next time.
Det finns ingen annan där som kan stå här by my side, oh why. Sättet du rör på det får mig att dö för dig baby. För de här yardis, de vill ju bara dra ner oss. Men du är fett och vanlig. På det jag lägger all min tid och jag vill ha dig. Du får mig känna safety. Jag kan nog leda dig baby. Och jag kommer aldrig ändra mig. Aldrig. Kommer aldrig känna så här